Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tubular and Graphic Comic Book Vault. I am once again Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
This is our final foray into Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtles. At least the stuff that they wrote. I don't know if we'll do any more stuff in this continuity down the road.
Yeah.
Could happen.
I want to do Volume 2.
Yeah.
I also meant to read the Tales in TMNT because I have that stuff, but I just did not get a chance.
Yeah, I wish we'd done that because that informs some of this, especially with Nobody and Rat King.
Yep.
And so it would have been nice to do that. I wasn't lost to it. And actually...
Well, Rat King plays like that could be his first appearance.
Yeah, I was going to say, that reveal might be cooler if you're not familiar with Rat King, especially because you're supposed to wonder how much of that is a figment of Splinter's imagination. And that probably works a lot better if you haven't seen this character before. Because if it's all completely a figment of his imagination, like, that doesn't make sense because Splinter didn't make that character up in the first place. But it's still, but I mean, like, it would play a little bit because of the stuff that is, you know, in his head. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, or I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, so this is City of War, and the couple issues that are the prelude.
I forget what that two-parter is
City of War. Yeah, I'll take a look because I don't recall right off either. But it's
Shades of Grey. It's called Shades of Grey.
That's right. Sure. The worst, the title of the worst TNG episode of all time, or at least it's way up there. It's the clip show that they put at the end of season 2 during the writer's strike. It's great.
There's an amazing arc in, I think it's Starman. There's a really good story somewhere with the Shade, and the story's called Shades of Grey, or Greys of Shade.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's Starman. It might be Green Arrow. Somewhere where the Shade shows up.
But as that title alludes to, there's a lot of you know, moral quagmire and wondering if there is any right answer at all through all of this for every character. And I will just come right out and say...
It's a really good prologue. That's the tone of the table.
Right, and then after that, that's what City of War is about. You know, there's no right answer. You have to work with your enemies in order to... you know, make any good happen at all, and can you hold on to your principles and your morality through that? This is, for my money, hands down the best stuff they did.
Okay.
I think that's just because, I mean, there's stuff that I think is as much fun as this, but finally they did a big, lengthy arc that I could really sink my teeth into and get some really nice character stuff. This is probably, I imagine, more fun to talk about than anything else we've seen before, because a lot of the time I feel like the characters kind of get lost in the science fiction stuff and in the plottiness of it, and here it feels a great deal more character-driven. I got issues with the ending.
Okay.
Which we'll talk about, or at least... I got issues with April's part of the ending.
Well, in cases too, a little bit.
Well, them together is what I mean. Yeah, that whole thing is goofy. But
I think on the whole, it's a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
I think it could be shorter. There are two criticisms that
I like the way it takes its time, though. Honestly, but
there are two criticisms that Laird makes in the behind the scenes things that I agree with completely. One of them is the old man doesn't play at all.
No, take that completely out.
For that to work, I get what they're going for.
Yeah.
For that to work, they can't just randomly insert panels. It needed to grow. It needed to be issue 1 is 1 panel, or you know, the first issue is 1 panel, second issue is 2 panels, and like by the end of it, you get a whole sequence with that guy. It needed to feel consequential.
I think there are other ways to do it, and if you don't mind, I want to explore a couple.
Okay.
So to set this up, in the first issue of City at War, which is completely dialogue-less, and is the last issue ever drawn by Eastman and Laird together, and one of their best. And, like one of the best experiences I've ever had with a comic book, especially with a wordless comic book. Just loved it. Sometimes I find it difficult to tell what's going on in a wordless comic. I'll read them too quickly. I slowed myself down hard on this and gave it a second read. It was read. But they so what they do in this is they're setting up the splintered factions of the Foot Clan after Shredder has died now the second time with his head on a pike, and they and they're going to war with each other, and there's an explosion that's being set up through the entire issue of a pornography shop, and there's a guy there who gets injured,
and he lives above it.
Yeah,
his apartment is above the shop.
Yeah, I was wondering if he owned the shop.
I don't think so. I think he's just leasing I know people that were like they just have an apartment that's above a store,
especially in New York City.
Yeah.
I wondered if there was any significance to the fact that it was a sex shop.
They mentioned that in the background where they're like, I don't know if we intend anything by that. I think we were just being edgy.
Okay.
I think Eastman brings it up. He's like, I don't know why we did that.
The way they did the angles and stuff with that issue, it kept making me think there was something symbolic about it, like it mattered in some way, and I didn't have any read on it.
I didn't either, and maybe there was, and they just forgot that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But they also don't seem to know why it's a sex shop.
But yeah, he gets hurt, and honestly, it's not until the last issue where I even get a sense of why we keep following this guy and we care, and forgive me for using this example because it's a thing that ultimately ended up not making it into the movie, but it is very much the waitress in Avengers, right?
Yeah.
That is all that is.
Yeah.
It's supposed to he's just representative. And that's the problem, is that he's just a representation of the rest of us, right? He's a representation of all of the people who are affected by the stuff that the Turtles and the Foot Clan are doing behind the scenes that nobody knows about.
Well, but he's also a mirror for what everybody's going through in the story.
That's true. That's true.
The problem is when in the middle of a page you just have a panel of him in the hospital.
Yeah,
I don't get
you can't
that.
Follow it.
Now, when I originally read this, I read scanned versions of the original issues. So I got to read the letters pages.
Oh, great!
And in the letters pages,
people complain.
They didn't know they didn't even remember that he was the guy in issue 50. They're just like, what's up with the old man?
That guy? Yeah.
Could you imagine reading this month to month and remembering
I can't.
What's up with the old man?
13 months. No, I can't. Yeah. You're absolutely right though that he is a reflection of all the
I think he's
horrible
supposed
things
to.
these guys are dealing with. But that's not a thing I get until I have it all together, and it's kind of a little too late. Like I don't really care. And honestly, too often with things in this book, I find myself reading the annotations with Eastman and Laird and going, "Oh, that's what that was." Mm-hmm. Do you ever have that?
Yeah. I had that with him.
Yeah, I definitely had that with him.
Because Eastman has no criticism to speak of, and he's like, I think it's brilliant how he
paralleled. He loved it. Yeah,
how he paralleled the old man with the. And there's a point where Eastman's just like, or where Laird is like, yeah, I don't think this works. We should just take it out. And I agree. That's one of the two criticisms that he lobs. I really agree with.
Real quick before we move off of it, though, let me suggest how that could have been handled better. Because you're right. You could. The problem with growing it is that it would feel like Rising Action that was building to something more than just he's okay at the end. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have done it like that. I would have made it. I would have made it the opening page every time. Yeah,
this is where he is. Check it in. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You just do a splash page, right?
Because that gives you enough weight where you know you're supposed to follow it, and then every issue you're looking at. Oh, this is a separate comic book.
Yeah.
You put them all together,
no, you're right.
And over time, and the reason you're only seeing one panel at a time is because enough time has to pass in between where he's in the stages. That's how you do that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But not in the middle of a fight scene!
No, not
they're on a roof and fighting, and then, oh, by the way, here he is in the hospital, and then clanging against the Shredder Elite again. What?
Yeah. So the other thing that he complains about, that I was like, absolutely, it was especially, so the issue where Karai arrives, and there are 4 splash pages, and
there's a helicopter that takes up an entire page.
So, I don't think you have to lose any story. You can cut this down to 10 issues. I think there are a number of sequences that do not need to be as long or as...
I agree with that criticism. Here's why it didn't bother me. The things that are long in the tooth are never dialogue, and I can read past them so fast because there's no reading to do.
That's fair. That's fair.
This is some of the fastest 13 issues I've ever read. Well, I mean, I was able to do this in about an hour and a half.
Yeah. No.
Both volumes.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, pacing-wise, I think...
No, and I
don't know if I would like this as much if I read it month to month.
But it's easy. It was easy for me to forget about those things after the fact because I enjoyed the story on the whole so much. And if that had weighed me down, if it was, I'm sorry for going to this place again, but I mean, like, if it's McFarlane doing this, he's explaining why the helicopter is there, and like you'd have all these narration boxes. We never do that.
My third criticism of the story, because I do like City of War. I think it's really good. Is you're right that we get a lot more character stuff.
Yeah.
I think we treat the Turtles as a unit character. I don't feel like we still don't get enough individuality from them. We get little moments, but I don't feel like we're exploring how each of them individually is reacting, except for maybe Leo and
the most we've ever had.
It is the most we've ever had.
And so if my standard, if the standard by which I should compare this is the rest of the series, you're wrong, because they've always been treated like a unit, and now, man, when Donatello has to pick up a machine gun and kill a guy,
that's true.
That's not the Turtles as a unit. He's the hardest turtle. He would be the one that would be the hardest for.
Sure. No, that's fair.
The one who's left out, who I never know anything about, is Michelangelo. And that's through the whole series.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that character. And I would go as far as to say
he's not influenced by the adaptations, because this is post the first movie. He is not influenced by the adaptations at all.
I was going to say, I think there are places where he is a little bit.
You think so?
Not hugely. But I feel like I never even got the sense that he was supposed to be the comic relief or the funny guy at all before those shows. And there are just a couple of places in this where they go there, and I think, oh, the only characterization we even have now is 87 and in the movies. And I think that rubbed off on them a little bit. But you're right, for the most part, that is not true.
They also call him Mikey once or twice, and they do not do that before the animated series of the movie.
Is that right? He's never done it?
In every other volume, the first 3 volumes, he's only Mike. And in this, he's still primarily Mike.
I forgot about the Mike thing. You're right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and this, he's still primarily Mike, but he is called Mikey a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because Mike's weird, because I think of him as Mikey.
Yeah, same here.
But other than that, it's great. It's really good. It's really good comics. It's interesting how after all of the success and everything,
I just enjoyed how involved it was. I think I was blindsided by that. I think I was really won over by it because I didn't realize this series ever did that. I knew about City at War. I didn't realize how long that was until you told me about it. But even still, I could have seen these guys doing 13 issues that it was really still kind of like one issue at a time.
Yeah.
And it's not that,
like a 70s comic.
And it like you said, it feels really weighty, and I like all the I like all the imagery and the symbolism and stuff, and I don't feel like it's horribly heavy-handed or anything. I'm able to take so much just from visuals, and nothing's ever explained to me, and that's very refreshing.
One of the things I think is really impressive is that, given when this comes out, which is 92 or 93, it's post the movie, it's post the cartoon.
Yeah.
They are rich, they're successful, and yet this still feels like an indie comic in the 1980s.
It's great.
I really like that. And, just the way it's paced, and it feels very 80s indie comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that they still have that.
Except for the places where it feels very Image. Because there are some of those.
That's fair.
It never looks like it's made in a big budget studio.
Mm-hmm.
They've never lost that grit. But, I mean, to be fair, Image has some of that grit also.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, there are a couple places, especially... There's a scene with a big giant robot that they fight that looks like a Larson thing to me.
It doesn't look like a Larson. It looks like Laird. It looks like Mauser's.
Something about the composition of it, though.
That's fair.
Felt really Image to me.
And I love that.
It does look like a Ninja Turtle thing.
Yeah.
There's somebody at Image, at least laid out.
I love the in the annotations. It's like, does it make sense to do a robbery with a giant robot? No, but it's cool. We just want to do robot.
Let's talk about that whole thing a little bit. The internal logic of it. So, these books have always kind of walked a fine line where they can get away with certain things because it's not horribly realistic. It's a pretty heightened world, and yet, of course, it's really gritty and it looks very realistic. And the thing with Casey and April at the end, where they just happen to find each other again, is going way too far.
I agree.
And
they say in the annotations, like, we can get away with this because it's
no, you can't.
No.
And that's the reason I bring it up, is that they act like because they're writing a heightened comic book that kind of thing is okay. It's not consistent with the kind of internal logic of the book. Most of the time, you've got pretty basic actions and consequences, and you don't usually the universe doesn't throw them that big of a bone, and also how hard is it to get Casey and April back together? What I thought was going on there, and as I was saying, I don't want to rewrite the story, but I feel like this is one where I feel like it would have been the natural place to go. Why didn't you do that? Did you have this? April goes there, and she immediately says, Mrs. Jones to Casey Jones' mom, and she's suddenly come into a lot of money because her father's died, and her father, right?
Yeah, it's her father.
And
who I didn't realize was alive until this arc.
Yeah, me neither.
Because he left her the antique shop.
Yeah.
Usually something you do when you die.
That's a good point. Yeah, she already had an inheritance. Anyway, so she's got an inheritance. She splits like 400 grand with her sister, and she takes her 200 grand. She goes back to New York, and she goes and buys Casey Jones' mother's apartment complex. And now I will say it's maybe not quite as convenient as we're saying it is, because there's only going to be like so many apartment complexes on the market. But still, it seems pretty convenient that she just happens to go there. What I thought was going on is that she had found out about that and was intentionally going there to surprise Casey, and knew that that's who it was, and that's all you had to do. Is just she knows who it is.
Or
and that's why she picked that one.
Or you play it out a little bit long, because here's the thing. She goes there, and we don't know why she's going there. We have no sense that she's going to be a real estate agent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just a weird reveal.
If we kind of built that, and like we kind of saw that they were about to intersect, she just shows up there.
Yeah.
Also, how do you not make that their new headquarters, right? Like,
That's
she
a good
buys
point.
A tenement building.
Sure.
They all live there.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Well, and have they got a new home by the end? Do we know where they're going to live?
No, because what's weird about this is...
The water tower's awesome.
The water tower is awesome. It's huge.
It's
like a TARDIS.
No, it's insane. Yeah, it absolutely... But it's awesome!
No, here's... What's weird about this is... So, for those that don't know, if you were reading Ninja Turtles back in the day, at the end of Return to New York... they get off of the book, and they let other people come in, and none of that is canon or continuous.
Yeah, so we haven't even talked about Jim Lawson.
Yeah, yeah. So none of that is canon or continuous until they come back for... Was it 48? Yeah, it's 48 and 49, and then issue 50 is where they both draw it. So 48 is the beginning of the new back-to-continuity Ninja Turtles, which is something that bugs me a little bit, in that they make a big deal out of, like, we made it to issue 50, I never thought we could... I'm like, but you didn't. Like, it's not like you kept telling stories for the...
Yeah.
So what's weird is, this picks up very quickly...
Yeah, because I looked at it, I'm like, wait a minute, we're only 4 volumes in, we didn't read 50 issues, what's going on?
So what's weird is, it picks up shortly after Return to New York. In Return to New York, I thought they were returning to New York.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that you get to this and they're still in the farmhouse. So, they return to New York again?
Yeah. Yeah, I was confused
shortly
by that
after Return to New York.
Yeah.
And so no, they don't have a home in New York because they never actually returned to New York.
Yeah.
They didn't stay there when they returned.
No, that's why they had to hang out in a
Which
water
is why
tower.
the Foot Clan
no
is fighting now. This can only be a couple of months after Return to New York. And something I noticed, because you brought this up, and I had this the first time I read it too.
I like the way we sweep under the rug. Like, hey, Karai, why'd you wait so long? You hear that?
Yeah.
I forget what she says exactly.
It's because she thought they were just going to all kill each other.
Oh, that's right. She was like, yeah. She was like, well, we thought it would take care of itself, and it didn't. I guess that's a fine explanation. But
except
it really did read like, well, we needed some kind of a reason that we waited months before we told the story.
Except, I would have thought, like, at best, you would end up with one Foot Clan faction left.
Yeah.
Like, they would all kill each other, but one would be left. But maybe not.
I mean, how elite is that elite guard, really?
They're pretty cool.
No, they're awesome, but they should have won by now.
Yeah. The elite guard is what I was going to bring up. So you react to them, and you're like, they're so cool.
They're so cool.
So when I first read this, I had the exact same thing. Except, when we went back through it this time, they're all over Return to New York.
Yeah. And
I didn't remember that.
Talk about that in the annotations, and I was like, oh, we've seen them already?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess we have.
And I had that the second time around going through Return to New York for this series. I was like, oh, that's where they come from.
One of the biggest successes about City of War, I think, is that I never miss Shredder.
Yes.
Because his aesthetic is all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Foot Clan is more than Shredder, and I've never had that in anything else Ninja Turtles.
You're not waiting for him to come back.
Even reading IDW right now, whenever the Foot Clan's around, the only reason I'm not missing Shredder too much is because Splinter, spoiler alert, is running the Foot Clan right now. If he wasn't, if it was just Karai, like, I've never cared about Karai. She's amazing.
I told you.
I love her.
This is the best
really
Karai's
cool.
ever been.
And the neatest, one of the neatest things in it is when she puts on the Shredder costume.
Yeah.
Now, I have a tough time buying that the Elite Garb walks in and they think she's Shredder. Maybe the lighting to them looks different than the lighting for me, but that is clearly a feminine figure and not the Shredder.
Well, if I have a criticism about the art, she looks like a dude with boobs and a chick's head. I think she looks...
I don't know if I agree with that.
It's very, like, Image 9. If anything screams Image to me, it's that she just looks like a jack dude,
you don't think he
but
can
with
draw
a chest and with a girl's head. That's what she looks like to me this whole book.
She has quite the six-pack, but I think it's a feminine six-pack.
I mean, it's supposed to be. I didn't get that.
Wow.
She looks like a dude to me.
Really? Okay, all right,
yeah.
that's interesting.
But no,
forget
Karai
that
is
to
great
you
in this.
she looks like a dude. Don't you think that they would immediately be like, wait a
Maybe
minute?
she's supposed to have a more masculine frame so they can get away with the Shredder thing.
Well, maybe so.
I don't know.
It's still hard to buy it, though, because she still has enough of a feminine figure.
It's true. It's true.
And I'd be like, no, there's anatomy that...
And that scene
Shredder
also has
have.
the funniest thing in all of East Spindler's Ninja Turtles, which is when she says, I'm the Shredder, you've dishonored me,
It's the
kill
best.
yourself.
It's the best.
And one of the elite guards like, okay. That's hilarious.
And then another one of them. It's funny, but it's also really believable. I kind of love it because if they actually think that's Shredder, because does he actually think that's still Shredder when he does it?
He thinks that's Shredder when he does it.
Oh, she must do an amazing impression of the Shredder's voice.
It's got the voice modulator mask.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But
she's like, these turtles.
No. What I mean, it is pretty funny, but at the same time, I think I laughed more about it as I was reading, like thinking about it, because, I mean, I'm with you. It is funny. But in the moment, I was like, wow, that's hardcore. You know?
No, it is, but it's really funny.
Because the thing is, I mean, I like the idea that at least one of them, goes so far in his beliefs that if he thinks there's any chance that's the Shredder, he just immediately commits,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Shredder's angry with him, and that the Foot Clan's just been warring, and they're not carrying on the Shredder's vision. Like, yeah, of course he.
And then,
it
and then one of them
says,
he had a weak mind.
Yeah. You'll find the rest of us are not so weak-minded. Yeah, no, that was great. I love that.
This is also one of the best examples of the villain asking the hero to join him or her.
Because she's not a villain.
She's not. Yeah.
And that's what's so great about Mirage.
It's so nuanced. That discussion at the end is fantastic. Is gold when they ask her. So like, are you just gonna keep going the way you've always gone, or are you gonna try to make this better? You know, or are you like and her.
It also helps that we find out that the Foot Clan that we have been dealing with has been perverted by the Shredder.
That's true too. Yeah.
That what we have seen is not what the Foot usually.
That's not what they're about. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. And when she's one of the things I love about Karai is how dedicated she is. So like she says like I'm gonna go home and bury my daughter, and then I'm going to continue doing what I have to do.
Yeah.
No, Mirage Karai is the best Karai, and we've never had a Karai that's. Because we're so obsessed, because we can't get rid of the Shredder, and so we have to have...
next to Casey Jones, the most drawn character in the book.
Yeah. But because in all adaptations, we can't get rid of the Shredder, and so she has to... It's like the Shredder's daughter, and like his minion, and like all of that, and like, we have to make a way for them to coexist. She exists because he doesn't.
Yeah.
And she's such a great character.
And it's weird because... She's made more interesting by the fact that we never really did that much with Shredder. You know, he wasn't a real complex villain. He was menacing, and it was a big deal when he showed up, and he was really scary. But you know, I think the point is that he was so far gone he didn't have any dimension. You know, like she's a fully flesh and blood human character who cares about things and has compassion.
It's kind of a bummer that this is the end.
Yeah. And I had that too, because this feels like a really cool jumping off point for something. And I don't know what the color book did, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what Volume 2 does, but it's kind of a bummer that this is the end. It's also a bummer because if you're reading the issues, like I read initially with the scans and everything, 50 is a big deal where they're like, and hopefully we make it to 100. They finish this story and quit.
Yeah.
And that's really disappointing.
How did you feel about the... well, first of all, let me say that I think this is... It also handles subplots really well.
Yes.
Where it's 13 issues, everybody is on their own path. I think they converge really organically, and I'm never lost, and I'm never reading one subplot and going... oh crap, I can't wait to get to the things I really care about. Usually when you do 4 subplots simultaneously, there's one... And it's interesting because it's not the 4 turtles; it's different characters. I say 4; it's 3 or 4.
No, it's 4. It's April. It's Casey, April, Turtles, and then Splinter.
Absolutely,
we haven't talked about Splinter at all.
No, we haven't. And I want to talk about the Casey Jones thing too.
Yeah.
But I'm never. I don't know if you agree with this. If you have this too, but there's never one that I think is weaker than the other ones. Like I'm kind of with all of them.
April's just LA Life is weird.
That's true, but I guess while I was reading it, I was invested enough.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you said that, for a minute, I'd be like, wait, what is she doing again?
But the April section had the most times where I was like...
it is the weakest, but while I'm reading it, I'm not thinking that.
The April one has the most times where I'm like...
Did it feel more fillery?
Well, and what is happening? Like, she goes on a date with that guy, and he says something, and she gets real offended. And I was like...
oh, and then it felt like there was something really seedy and interesting going on at her work that never pays off.
Yep.
I don't know what that was about. Where he's just like... she's like, something is really fishy and off. Mind your own business. I thought she was going to uncover a conspiracy or something.
No, she just left.
Oh. Yeah, okay. So
she's living with her sister that we've never known about before this moment.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And when she first calls her, I kind of thought that was the last we were going to see of her, because...
in the annotations, they talk like it is.
Yeah, they're like, and she never showed up again, and then she did, and I guess they just meant past this arc.
But that's the end for them. They don't do anymore.
Well, yeah, but they talk about Laird helping him plot. It sounded like Laird was more involved in the rest of the 13... than Eastman was.
Well, no, what I mean is, they're like, and after this story, she never shows up again.
No, I know. What I'm saying is, when she first shows up, it sounds like they're talking about that issue. Like, she never shows up past the issue.
Yeah.
And that was weird.
Yeah, but then retrospectively, if they're talking about City War as a whole,
she never shows up again. Yeah.
Because Laird says...
well, no, but what he says is, as far as I know. If memory serves, that's what he said.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure Laird says, until I did something with her in Volume 4, and I'm like, oh, that's next time you guys work. Or either of you is working on Turtle. Like, it's only 13 more issues than however long the image stuff is.
This is making me so much more interested to see what he did solo, though.
Yeah.
Because I never cared about that before, and now I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, well, if he was continuing on, sort of in this continuity.
Yeah.
Is that what he did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, well, and he picks up
off that stuff be great. Nobody ever talks about it. I mean, I didn't even know it existed until you told me.
Well, and it was barely printed.
Some of the
later issues is only digital.
What was this, mid-2000s?
It starts before the 03 series.
Oh,
and it ends because he starts when he's working on the 03 series. He brings some of that, so like the Battle Nexus stuff. He's doing almost simultaneously.
He has the rights, for people that don't know, to do a certain number of his own Turtle books per year.
Yeah,
and I think he still has it even after Nickelodeon. But I don't
know. No, that's who gives him that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because he still owns the rights to Turtles. He's the one that sells it to Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
With the caveat that I think he can do 4. I think it's 4 a year. And since Nickelodeon's bought it, he's done exactly 1 issue.
Interesting. Does he have the rights to the whole canon? Can he do anything he wants to?
I think he has the rights to his stuff. Well, I don't think he would want to do any of the cartoon stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I don't know if he can use Krang and whatnot, but I don't think he would. But it's like 43 issues I think he does. It's a good stint, and it's Lawson. It's the same artist as this.
Interesting.
And it goes until a little bit before he sells it to Nickelodeon, I think. But yeah, and that stuff's not collected. I don't know if IDW's allowed to collect that stuff, but I'm pretty sure for a while you could get the entire thing digitally, free. Like he had it posted free online.
Wow, that's really cool.
I don't know if it's still there.
So we need to talk about, let's just take inventory. We need to talk about Casey, we need to talk about Splinter, and we need to talk about the inconsistency in Lawson's art.
Okay. Let's do Splinter first.
And the awesomeness of Lawson's art, but also the stuff that I'm not sure about.
Yeah. Let's do Splinter first?
Sure.
So Splinter, I I don't want to say we open like Splinter, but kind of in the Shades of Grey 2-parter. There's this phenomenal moment where April comes to Splinter and she's like, yeah, I don't know about all this. Like, look, I love you guys, but like it's really hard for me to start dating someone or like get a job and like have friends because I can't tell them about you, and like it's like there's a part of my life I can never share with anyone.
Yeah, and it's like it's almost like she's a superhero with a secret identity.
Yeah, and she's just kind of opening up and being like and that he's a father figure to her. In the same way that he is to the Turtles, and she's like, I'm just looking for some guidance, kind of a thing, and he just says leave. Like there's just one line of dialogue.
It's astounding. Leave. Now, what was as powerful a moment as that is, it did make me wish that I had been reading the Tale stuff, just because I don't know what all has happened to lead him to the place he is in that.
I don't know if there is anything because I think all the Tale stuff happens before Return to New York.
Oh.
Although he's not in Return to New York much, so I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not 100%... And just tell me if I'm missing something. I'm not 100% sure what exactly has... I mean, it's powerful, but what exactly has caused Splinter's insecurities and...
Something's made him lose his way, I don't know exactly what it is.
How unsure he is of himself. I felt like I was missing something.
Yeah. No. I also don't know...
Because it really felt like there should be an impetus for that.
Yeah.
Because it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, I don't really know what makes him be like that. Maybe it isn't the Tale stuff, I'm not sure. But if it is, they would have set that up, like, 4 years prior.
Yeah.
Because all that Tale stuff comes out while they're working on Ninja Turtles. It's pre-Return to New York, I think. I think all of it's published pre-Return to New York. I might be wrong. Because there's only 7 issues.
Okay, but you had that too.
Yeah.
Where we don't really know what's led him to this place.
I don't know what's led him to this place. And then he goes on this, like, spirit journey.
Yeah.
Because the Turtles...
At first he's trying to meditate, and he's able to meditate, but he can't find any clarity through it. He's unfocused. Yeah,
he's trying, and we're told that he's trying to reach, like,
enlightenment.
Yeah, like, perfect enlightenment.
But it seems like he almost needs to do that just to have any sense of self and to have any path in his life anymore. Mm-hmm. Like he's just completely lost.
And then what makes him wander off to the factory? Something draws him to this factory.
Yeah.
And he falls and he gets hurt. And he's not sure if he's gonna be able to go on. And there's rats and he won't eat the rats. And the Rat King shows up and he's like, "You have to eat the rats or you'll die."
Yeah, and I thought that was hardcore.
Yeah, no, it is. And then eventually he eats the rats.
Yeah. Because it's kind of cannibalism.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Well, it's super cannibalism because remember in Mirage he starts as a rat and becomes more humanoid. No, it's totally cannibalism.
Well, and I thought, I thought some of what he was going through. Yeah, I always have to remind myself which version of him we're dealing with. This is the one that's not the master in the first place. But yeah, I kind of thought that part of what he was wrestling with was like his mutation and how human he actually is.
Mm-hmm. No, because he's... I mean, I guess kind of, but it starts from a rat place, not a human place.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, he just has this whole, like, spiritual experience with Rat King where, like, he kind of... It does seem like he's fighting with his animal instincts.
Right. Yeah,
and he gets to a place of, like, balance. Where he's able to accept that... Maybe it's just the circle of life thing, like... I don't really know what he gets to. Like, I believe whatever he gets to. I'm not sure exactly what the conclusion is.
As we're talking about it, it's a little bit holy, but while I'm looking at it, I'm really drawn in.
It feels real profound.
But it's interesting how Rat King ultimately is really his advocate and mentor, and
it's interesting that. This is a thing that I don't think we've done in pretty much any iteration aside from the current IDW stuff, from what you've told me, where, like, Splinter has somewhere to grow and he has an arc to go through.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he doesn't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that.
Yeah, he's just as vulnerable.
We should do that more. Because he's usually just the guy in the background. He's the dad.
Well, and I wish... as much as it pains me to say this, because I thought it was really interesting at first, I wish this was the Rat King we had in IDW, because he's kind of more interesting. Because the Rat King in IDW is like a godlike being. And,
interesting.
He's part of a pantheon of gods.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that, yeah.
And he's he's invisible unless people want him to see them. Want people to see him, and he's really scary. He's also in the worst miniseries they've ever done. The Casey and April series is awful.
Okay.
He's the bad guy in that. And I was like, yay, Rat King! And then I got to the end, and I was like, boo, Rat King. But I wish it was this guy usually. And also, I just love the original Rat King design so much.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very mummy-y.
I mean, I agree with Laird when he's like, I wish we did more with him.
Yeah.
If it was Laird. One of them said that. But.
I think Laird is the only one that says anything critical, so it was probably Laird.
What did you think of the way the annotations were done this time? Because they changed it up a little bit.
They changed it up, and it seems like they fixed it, right?
Yeah.
At first, it seems like they fixed it because they do a split page, and we have Eastman talk, and then he breaks down some pages, and then we have Laird talk, and he breaks down some pages. I wanted more, and like, at this point, it feels like it's not on IDW. They just don't have that much to say. This isn't as cherished a memory in their life. They don't remember all of this as well. Once you get into like 3-4 issues in, they're just reviewing their own work.
Yeah, well, and work that they didn't work on much, and that Eastman didn't do at all. Like,
yeah.
It passed 50.
And Eastman thinks everything's awesome and everything works amazingly.
Yeah.
And everything's beautiful.
Yeah, and Laird's a little bit more sober about it. And I think gracious enough.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't hate it.
I feel like I'm reading reviews.
Yeah.
With a guy that doesn't want to be critical because he's too close to it, and another guy that is more critical of it because he just has that eye for it.
Yeah.
What I wanted was Lawson.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the real hero here. How come we don't talk to him?
Yeah, we just keep talking about how much we love his art.
Yeah.
But we don't have him here because it's Eastman and Laird.
Sure.
Eastman and Laird Ultimate Collection.
But it's right, but they could still be there. Just give me another page.
Yeah.
Like it's the annotated, Eastman and Laird comics with a section that was mostly not done by Eastman and Laird.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my big criticism, is get the guy that, I don't know where, I honestly don't know what he's doing right now.
I mean, he works on the Volume 4 comics with Laird. Laird's in touch with him.
And bring the man in.
Yeah.
And let him write about his own work. Because it would be neat to see, like how he feels about this now, and if there are parts that he's not especially proud of.
Yeah, because he's the one that drew them.
Yeah, exactly. Or if he feels like Eastman, it all works. It'd be interesting to see if he was self-critical like Laird is.
The big takeaway that I have gotten from reading through all 5 of these books and the annotations is...
Because the big thing he would not be able to argue with is... Because I love most of his art. It's great. But there are... we'll talk about this. I have questions about how he's inked sometimes. Mm-hmm. But there's no way Lawson could argue with, I don't know what exactly Casey did that got that guy killed.
Yes.
In that first 2 parts.
Yeah. No, I agree. The big takeaway I have from the annotations from reading all through this is I've always believed that of the pair I liked Eastman more. And I've discovered I like Laird better as a writer. I think you need Eastman there with Laird to generate some of the darker, grittier ideas that they go with. Well, at least I thought so. And we got the City of War, and it's mostly Laird. Initially, conceptually, like Laird, Eastman's there, and I'm not saying I don't like Eastman, but I'm like, oh, I like Laird a lot more. Laird's a real critical thinker. So that was, and it was driven home by these 2 volumes, where all Eastman can do is say how everything is awesome and works completely.
Well, I think,
and Laird has a bit more nuanced of a look at his own work.
Yeah, maybe part of why you had that, why you looked at them that way is because Eastman was always kind of more of the front man. You just saw him more.
No, because Laird's the one who's constantly doing interviews in the 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Eastman's completely distant from it. Remember, Laird works on the 03 commercial, or on the 03 cartoon.
Yeah.
There's interviews with him about that cartoon. I saw Laird a lot.
That's because I've seen Eastman a lot more.
Yeah, I think he's kind of taken the spotlight since IDW got it.
Of course, yeah.
And Laird's kind of become a little bit of a hermit. But no, I always
thought of him. I've always thought of him as more of the outgoing one, and I don't know if that's true.
No, I think he is. But I think just when I was looking into Ninja Turtles around the 03 comic, that's when Laird was, front and center. But I guess I always, and I don't think this is wrong, but I always got the impression that all the stuff I don't love about Ninja Turtles, like Triceratons and space and all that, that's all layered. And then Eastman's the one who's like, let's do the crime stuff, and we'll keep it grounded in ninjas and stuff.
You're not sure if that's right.
Yeah, I don't know if that's right. I discovered I like layered a lot more than I thought I did. And I like Eastman less than I thought I did.
Especially because Laird's the guy who made the more grounded TV show. I
Yeah.
mean, he went to space. But...
Yeah. Okay, so you want to talk about Casey?
Yeah, let's do Casey. So that's when it gets kind of soap opera-y, but not in a real bad way.
No,
mostly.
and there's genuinely emotional moments.
Yeah, and I mean, I felt really bad for a lot of that, and was kind of impressed that they didn't lose me with again the soap opera of it. That like he gets involved with a woman that turns out to already be pregnant, and he thinks that it's his initially, but it's not. She got pregnant before she met him, but didn't want to tell him about it. And then they decide to get married, and they're living in a trailer. But
did you start to have the thing I had? Because I've read this before, but I'd forgotten how that all resolves. Did you start that thing that I did where I'm like, how are they going to get him out of this?
Yeah, I did. I was like, is he just going to be married for the rest of this book? Yeah, and she dies in childbirth, and suddenly it feels like a World War II story or something. And then, that's part of why him getting back together with April is just way too easy. Even if they find each other again like that, so I don't buy that they would get back together that quick.
The problem is, at that point, it is the conclusion to April's emotional arc, not his.
Right.
Hers was about kind of finding determination in herself. Because like,
and it leads her back to the place she was trying to get away from in the first place.
Yeah, because at the beginning, Casey tries to kiss her, and she's not sure that she wants that world.
Right.
And by the end, she knows she does. The problem is that Casey has also been on a journey, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and and it almost feels like, again, it's too easy where it's like, well, Casey's got this baby now that is legally his. I really like all that, and that he's going to raise this kid.
Yeah,
and I like how super responsible he's gotten after his vigilante days and accidentally getting a guy killed and all of that. And like you buy him as a father, and
yeah.
Even after, all the skull breaking and the guy that he somehow accidentally got killed, you're not afraid of him raising a kid, with a baby. That's really impressive.
And all of that stuff keeps going into, like, I know that all of that's still there in, like, Laird's Volume 4, where, like, because it moves somewhat in real time. So Shadow, I think, is, like, in her tweens at that point.
Oh, okay.
And Splinter's, like, her grandfather.
I like the part, that's interesting. I like the part when his mom's like, so you named her then, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, obviously. Her name's Shadow.
It was between that and Sonic.
I also like that her mom immediately assumes that he knocks somebody up, and he's...
Yes.
And he's like, well, actually, it's not mine. And
he said it's more complicated than that. And she's like, I have all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just remembering this story right now. But anyway, but isn't it kind of a little bit too easy that at the end, he just goes back to April, and it's like, well, this kid needs a mom, so...
Yeah.
No,
that's too easy. I also wonder how...
It should be pending, right? It should be like, let's take this slow, and then when we get into the next arc, that's when we would
Part of the issue is time passage. I feel like Casey's story is longer than the other ones.
Oh, interesting.
And the story...
No, that makes a lot of sense.
The story itself is longer than you think it is. I started to notice because... There's like a month between each issue.
I didn't think of that.
But then sometimes
because they've always played it in real time.
Yeah, but sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it picks up immediately after the last issue, and sometimes now it's winter. But then it was fall, now it's winter.
Yeah. And Laird points out, and I wouldn't have thought about it if he hadn't said it, that it's snowing in the city, but wherever Splinter is, it's not.
Yeah.
It looks warm.
No, the time is weird.
He's real close to them, so it should be snowing there.
Casey's lived a year or two, and I feel like the Turtles lived like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
So the Casey stuff works better just because it seems like it's on a different timetable than everything else.
Yeah.
And once I noticed how much time was passed, because he has to go through at least 9 months, or no, at least like 6 months, right?
No, she's already 4 along.
Is she 4 along?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing, is like I see why you felt that way, but I'm not sure if you're totally right about it.
I don't know how long he is with the baby.
No, that's true too. Yeah.
I do like it. It should feel convenient, but it doesn't. That like, so this all starts because Casey gets beat up and his car gets taken away.
Well, she's 4 months along when he starts noticing it.
Yeah, how long have they been together up to that point?
I'm not sure. I don't think it was a real long time. What was weird about that? What was weird about that to me is if she's 4 months along, she's in the second trimester, and he's just now noticing her like throw up and stuff. It's almost like she didn't get morning sickness until the second trimester.
Yeah,
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd think he'd notice it more early on when they start dating.
But
unless she's just never around when you get, because I mean, like, women don't always get sick in the morning. Obviously, like,
yeah,
it's different, and it's different for different women. I've never, and maybe this happens. I don't know. It wasn't from my wife. Wasn't from any woman I've ever talked to who has had babies and gone through childbirth. I don't know anybody that had a worse second trimester than any other trimester. It might happen. I've not known one, but that struck me as weird. Where she starts throwing up and it's like, I'm pregnant, and I'm like, and 4 months pregnant. I was like, all right.
This should feel too convenient, but it doesn't. I liked the Casey gets into this because he gets beaten up and his car gets taken away, and at the end
he finds those guys again and they still have his car.
Well, it's the same place. He goes back to the diner and he sees the guys with his car.
Yeah.
Now here's what could not be convenient about that.
Yeah.
Is that he has seen them before. And because he was settled in, he didn't go after them.
But now he's dealing with them.
I
don't know if that's true, though.
I don't either.
It felt like the first time he'd seen them.
It plays like
the way he reacts. He's like, oh, man! And then he goes after
Because
him.
Another thing where I was like, how is he going to get out of this, was
and he
crashes his car.
I don't know if I buy that he wouldn't go after them before, regardless of his circumstance, but maybe. I mean, and part of that's the point is that he's starting to, get more responsible.
But he crashes his car into the rocks to climb up the cliff, and I was like, how's he get back to New York if his car doesn't have a car? And they just pull up, and I was like, oh, that's how.
That's actually really funny.
Okay, here's where I have no sympathy for Casey.
Okay.
When he works at the convenience store job where he's doing his best to help out, you get told once that the bread goes on the bottom. I'm sorry. I have no, he's like, oh, you're riding me, you just gotta give me a chance. He's like, I've told you 4 times. No. It's common sense. You shouldn't have to be told in the first place.
Yeah.
But if you do have to be told, not 4 times.
Yeah.
You're a bag boy.
He keeps putting the bread on the bottom of the, in a bag.
In a grocery bag. So imagine you go to the grocery store and someone's loading it up for you, and they put the bread, and then, eggs and milk.
Yeah, and it was that grocery store owner was a jerk face, but it was one of those moments where I'm supposed to simultaneously realize that Casey is going too far and also sort of root for him, or think
I'm not rooting for him.
That guy deserves his comeuppance. I don't know.
Because I think eggs in a separate bag is the other thing. He brings up a couple things. I'm like,
you can't do that
that's
either.
Common sense.
You're not even doing your job. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to feel like he's really trying, but I don't.
I did like that he leaves and comes back. I like that he is he has such a temper problem that he tries to do the right thing after he's screwed up, and then he just ends up doing it again and making it way worse and punching the guy in the face. And
no, his story mostly works. There's a couple of things here and there where I'm like, I don't know about that, just logistically.
Yeah, and that girl could have been way more generic.
Yeah.
I kind of bought them together.
And their wedding is really sweet.
Yeah, even though it's just at a courthouse.
And when he brings her back, and he's like, well, we can't go on a honeymoon, so I decked the whole trailer out to look like Hawaii.
And then after that, she's bummed when they're looking at houses because she wants to stay in the trailer, and you've seen the memories they've made there, and you understand why. And he's kind of found his perfect mate because he found a girl that would rather stay in a trailer with him than get in a house. And there's really good specific details there.
Yeah. No, it plays really well. This is the great unmade Ninja Turtles movie, right?
Yeah, no, I think so too. And could have been the sequel to 90.
At the very least, it could have been. It could have been the third movie.
Yeah. But I mean, bits of it could have been reworked to be the sequel to 90.
Yeah. Although I think they say 2 has come out by this point. I think 3's getting made while this is coming out.
True. No, it actually couldn't have been.
Yeah. But it could have been.
Yeah. If this had already existed, you'd have to rewrite time.
Yeah.
That's all I meant.
Yeah.
Because this, in a perfect world where you could go back and change history,
this is a great sequel.
And where they weren't allowed, and where they were actually allowed to use their weapons and not just fight with hot dogs.
Yeah.
this would be a perfect sequel to 90 because you have Casey Jones and April try to have a relationship and it doesn't work out, and you have the Turtles and he goes off and has a baby
and Shredder
with
just
a girl.
died.
Shredder just died, so Karai's coming back or coming to the city, and you have to deal with that. And you have all of that making April's life impossible, and no, it would be great.
You could very easily adapt this into the sequel to the 90 film.
Yeah.
It couldn't have happened, but it could have.
Let's talk about the art.
All right, Jim Lawson, stop drawing tails. Just stop it. Stop drawing tails.
Yeah, that's distracting.
He continues to do it. Like in the Volume 4 stuff that I read, he continues to do it.
There's something weirdly nostalgic about that to me.
Drawing
I don't know
the tails?
why. Yeah.
No, I don't. Because Eastman Laird didn't do it.
I know, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if I saw some art that he did when I was a kid where they had them or what exactly it was. But yeah. But I mean, it is distracting. Like,
it's weird. It's really weird. More importantly, sometimes it's got a gray shade, and sometimes it feels like a cheap black and white comic.
And that's not all on him because he has a lot of different inkers.
Yep. And some of them, they just like. When I think of Ninja Turtles, Eastman Laird Ninja Turtles, I think of blacks.
Yeah.
And a lot of black, it's very heavy ink, and so it's really weird when you get to whole issues where it is just white.
Yeah.
It's just drawings on what that feels weird.
It feels unfinished.
Yeah.
And there are places where I think we're thinking of some of the same drawings where not only does it not feel shaded enough, where it's almost like a coloring book, but the faces and I guess just lines in general are kind of gelatinous.
Yeah. I don't
it's weird.
love
It just feels like it's not
Lawson's
done.
art.
Man, there are places where I do.
When he's inked right.
Yeah.
But like I know that both Eastman and Laird have always loved Lawson, and like
there are
he's
places
the
where
heir
I would
apparent to them.
But there are places where I would put his Turtles up against Eastman and Laird.
I don't know if I would ever go that far. Well,
really, I don't know. It's just I like the way he draws them a lot.
His Turtles, yeah,
yeah,
no,
that's what I'm saying. Where I would put his Turtles up against them.
Oh, okay. You just mean his specific.
Yeah. No, I don't mean the book. I mean his.
Oh man, the shards in issue 50.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for the perfect turtle drawing here.
Okay. I'm not saying he's bad. He's not Eastman Laird. He's
just kind of inconsistent.
When he's grayscaled like this, it looks good.
Yeah.
But when it's black and white, I'm just like, I don't know why you're doing this. And I don't know how much of that's his fault and how much it isn't. But they should never have let some of those issues go out.
No, I completely agree with
where
that.
they're just straight white.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very strange. And it doesn't feel intentional. It doesn't feel like we're saying something with this issue being white.
And if I wasn't looking at the credits, I would think sometimes those were different. There were different artists.
Mm-hmm.
Because the shading is so different. Or not at all there.
And you know the guy who made TMNT, the 2000s one?
Yeah.
This was what he wanted to do.
Oh, interesting.
He was going to do a trilogy, and it was going to end with
this.
Oh,
you know what? We've talked about that, but I didn't remember that because I've never read it, so I didn't have any reference point for it.
Yeah. He said, I think he said, maybe it was going to be the second one. He was going to do this. Or he wanted to do this. That's what he says in the commentary track. And this does get adapted into the 03 series. Although I doubt it's anywhere near as gripping and
I've really got to finally watch through that show, but it's just so hard to get.
Yeah, I've got season 1. We can watch that.
I don't know with Lawson, like I don't like his heads as well as Eastman and Laird. There's something about
his human heads. They're very
and his turtle heads too.
Okay,
but there is something about the way he does the shells.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
And sometimes the musculature. That just really gets me.
His turtles are a little bit too like Cerberus-y in the mouth.
Yes, that's it exactly.
And
anyone that knows what Cerberus is.
And I mean, if they've been following along with us, he does show up.
He does show up here. Yeah, that's right.
Their humans are a little boxy. They're kind of stretched faces, and it's a little weird. But for the most part, it suits that independent feel that it has.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't really get where you're saying that where you're getting off saying that she looks like a dude.
Okay, it's not here.
Okay.
I'm talking about like here.
Yeah, I still. I mean, she's just like she just works out a lot, man. Like,
she's jacked. Like this to me.
Okay.
This is what I think of as like
will,
90s, women.
I will kind of give you the shoulders a little bit, but this is what
I don't think
a
of that
girl's
as a
stomach
feminine
looks
stomach.
like if she does like 1,000 crunches a day.
Okay. I don't know. It looks very 90s to me.
Well, I mean, I'll give you that too.
Like it looks like a Liefeld woman to some degree. She doesn't twist and like she's not all like revealing like Liefeld does.
Of course,
but like it feels like he can't draw
the
women.
model.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he's doing his best. He knows women have hips, but it feels much more masculine than I think it's supposed to. But boy, I want this Karai, right?
Yeah. No, she's great. And it's cool because...
And I don't know if she's in Volume 3. Or Volume 2.
Since it's all about Shades of Grey, there's not really a central antagonist, right? And it works. I mean, like,
no.
she is for a second, but then they have to figure out how to work with it. And then, yeah, it's just that entity, is just, multiple entities.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good story.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, I said earlier that it's my favorite. I mean, like, just coming right off of it, it feels that way. If I went back to Return to New York, I'd probably find myself playing it, maybe.
I mean, Return to New York does not have the emotional or character complexity.
No, certainly. But it's weird and fun. And
I mean, having gone through all this stuff a second time now.
Yeah.
I still think, for me, the Leonardo issue, Micro, is my favorite singular issue.
Sure. 50 probably is. For
and Eastman's caught up on that. Have you noticed?
Close second though is burning down the store really and that 2-page spread that I cannot get enough of.
Yep.
With Shredder leaning up again. That's the same issue, right?
Yep.
And they burn it down.
Yeah. So that's It's whatever issue follows the Micro series. The Leonardo Micro series.
God, it's just the best. I need that blown up on my wall so bad. It's like,
where would you put it?
I will find a place. It's all I want.
The Leonardo and Eastman also has this. He has this fixation with the Leonardo Micro series. Like, I never did better than that.
Yeah.
He's like, I try, and I've just never done better than that.
There's a couple places where he's like, we got close.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite. I think that is the most like quintessential Ninja Turtles thing. Is that one issue? No. So, kind of. In summary, rounding up, you have now been through all of the Eastman Laird Ninja Turtles, which you've not done before.
I had not. I had read the first 5 or 6, is all, or maybe more, a little bit more than that. I had at least been through. No. I had been through the at least burning down the store.
So probably the first 11, like the big phone book one. I have that gave to Jason. How do you feel about it as a whole, now having gone through the history of the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I mean, it's really enlightening. I mean, I'm glad I went through it. I still can't say it's my favorite version. And
there's less of it than it feels like there is when you think about it.
Yeah.
Where you're like, that's it. Right. That's all of it.
Yeah, no, and...
I mean, there's the tail stuff that we should read just because that creates characters that will get used a bunch later.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is there's a spread where they're like, I think it's in issue 50, where it's like, we did the spread of like all of the most important characters, and their metalhead is in that spread.
That's weird.
Which makes me think that they think that all other metalheads are an adaptation of that character.
Yeah, no, it's a different character. Totally different character. It is impressive, the sheer amount of story variety and imagination in these books, because after reading City at War, it's hard to remember that, oh yeah, and they went to space.
Yeah.
And there is that, like, wild, out there science fiction stuff, because this is all so grounded. And, I mean, like, Return to New York had some weird genetic manipulation.
And also had a Triceraton.
Oh, that's true, it did, yeah. But I guess the thing that I don't love about it just as an experience, which, some of it, I mean, this is very understandable and I know why it turned out this way, but, like, it doesn't feel like a run.
Yeah.
It feels like...
The first 11 do.
That's right, but it feels like a couple of guys who keep kind of checking back in. And there's too many kind of one-and-done stories with a little bit of story in the background that we're constantly moving forward. And after City at War, I wish that from the get-go it was one complete story, just because they do it so well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also not just the two of them at that point working on it. So I mean, there's that to consider. But like, once we get there, I mean, that's what I've been wanting from this book. But also, like my favorite definitive Ninja Turtles now is IDW, and that's what that book is. And it's very difficult for me not to compare them, of course. And that's looking at those things really hard. The longer arcs where you can really sink your teeth into them. And it just gets interrupted too often.
I'm sure City of War is a huge influence on that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine City Fall draws from it a bit.
It does, yeah. They kind of come out and say that, yeah.
Yeah, well, and it is weird when you're like, just reading these hardcovers, to realize you finish Volume 3, and you're at issue, like, 21.
Yeah.
And then you jump to Volume 4, and you're at issue 48. Everything in between doesn't matter and isn't important. And so there's a whole thing. I'm gonna rant for a second about Eastman Laird. So when I read these through scanned versions, and they had the letters pages and things, they keep talking about how people are angry that the cartoon is coming out, and that there's like Ninja Turtles soap and Ninja Turtles candy, and they're like, oh, you killed it. You
sold out.
Yeah, you sold out. And they're like, but we still have our comic and we're still doing what we want to do every month. And I really wish I could go back in time and talk to them and be like, but that's not true. Because you didn't. You didn't make your comic for all of that time.
No, you prioritized the business.
And you didn't even find someone to carry it on. You just said, do whatever you want, none of it counts.
Well, what's really interesting, and I'm not passing judgment on those guys at all.
No.
It is...
I can't imagine overnight success like that.
No, not at all. And I'm not saying they necessarily did anything wrong. It's their property, and they were able to retain creative rights, more or less. That's really impressive. When you look at how huge that got, I mean, it was Batman big.
Yep.
Bigger than Batman.
Yep.
I would argue by 92.
Yep.
Or at least that big. Really impressive that those guys didn't lose didn't lose the rights to their own creation and were able to keep making those kind of calls.
And when they did work on it, they didn't lose themselves artistically.
That's right. But when you look at all of the merchandising and what that show was compared to the books, everything they allowed to happen with it, or a lot of what they allowed to happen with it, especially, I mean, except for the movie, of course, looks like what would happen if they sold it outright. If they sold Ninja Turtles for like $500,000 to, Playmates or whatever, what Playmates and, the company that made the cartoon show and all of that, what they did with it looks like what would have happened if they had just sold it outright. And they retained at least some control all the way through. That's really interesting.
They did the thing where they're like, you have the animation rights, do whatever you want with that, but they still have like the thing that they can control.
And then at the end, they're still allowed to make whatever they want to make. At least in comic side. And then, they both get to, help out and make decisions for other media later on.
Yeah, Eastman makes a cartoon series later. Sorry, not Eastman. Laird makes a cartoon series later. But yeah, like, was it like 3 years after? Because this is 92 or 93. It's like 3 years after this. First of all, that's weird. I'm born now. Yeah. When these come out, but like 3 years after this, Next Mutation happens.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's insane. Because you're right. This still, I'm locked in time. And when they talk about how Turtles has been around for 8 years, and
you're like, oh yes, because it must have started in 1980.
Yeah. I mean, like this still feels like I'm looking at, the year I was born, and that is still surreal to me. I'm the exact age of Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. This comes out in
it starts when the year I'm born, and I can track my whole life with Ninja Turtles. Have I shown you that Leonardo figure I have that's from the 5th anniversary of Ninja Turtles?
I don't think so.
84 to 89.
No, I don't think so.
Let me grab it real quick. It's right back here.
We can say now that we have completed a series that we have started.
Isn't that exciting?
Oh, I've seen this. I just didn't know that that's what this was.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Limited edition. Limited to how many? I wonder.
I forget now. If that's actually the number of the limited edition, this is somewhere in the 56,000, so it wasn't that limited.
Sure.
But I want to think that's not what
Of course,
that number
you're also
means.
5, so who was going to buy you like a super limited edition? It's also plastic. It's not cool.
Well, no, yeah, it's just a plastic figure, but it's cool because it's just like the figures that they made painted gold and put on, because that's a regular Leonardo.
Does
figure.
he move?
And yeah, he's
like
still
a figure.
got. Oh no, he doesn't.
Okay,
but it's almost like they
no,
glued it down or something.
And the swords, and the swords are what you always wanted those swords to look like.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, they're not one color.
They're not just brown.
Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that I have hung on to this and stuff. I mean, I've hung on to a lot of my stuff.
And in as good a condition as it is, given that it's not like a movable toy.
Yeah, that's right. I've really just always had it on a shelf somewhere. But anyway, well, we spent over an hour on those. It was 2 trades. It's the end of this. It's a thing we've been talking about for a long time. Really cool, like you said, that we finally finished one of these.
Yep.
A whole series we were doing. So I don't know what we'll do next time. We'll talk about that.
We said we were going to do
have
Ronin.
We decided already? Oh, that's right. That's right. We're going to do Frank Miller's
We're going
Ronin.
backwards. We're going to part of the inspiration for Ninja Turtles. We're going to do Frank Miller's Ronin.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and then after that, we'll probably get back to Superman Origins because we'll really need to finish some of that. Yeah.